What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about Steelers rookie tight end Darnell Washington, third round pick from Georgia. I'm going to show you guys a little bit of why I think that Darnell Washington is going to potentially change the Steelers offense, particularly in the run game, but just going to go over some plays from the Steelers Falcons preseason finale. I appreciate you guys reaching out, the comments on recent videos, asking, where I've been at over the past week or two. For those of you that don't know, I am now a part of SteelersNow.com. So the new gig started about 2 weeks ago. I've just been trying to get my feet wet and get acclimated over there before posting, a bunch of content over here. But the content is going to stay. YouTube channel is going to stay. So we're gonna keep this thing rolling through the regular season. Everything's kind of back to normal now. After all that stuff is finally settled. So just before we get started here, please make sure y'all like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. It's greatly appreciated on my end. So let's talk about Darnell Washington. I think if you look at the box score for Washington, it's been a quiet preseason, but I still think that he's showed a lot of really good flashes and ways that he's going to potentially help the Steelers offense. So mainly we knew the book on Washington coming out of Georgia. This guy is a really talented run blocker. On this particular play, the Steelers are going to line up in 11 personnel with Washington as the Y tight end in line next to fellow rookie Broderick Jones. So they're going to be running what's called duo. So going to go over duo a little bit for you guys really quick. So anytime you're in 11 personnel with the inline tight end, you typically get these 4 down over fronts from the defense. And what that means is you get this kind of shaded nose tackle opposite to the strength, and you get the 3 tech to the side of the tight end, which leaves the tight end head up on the edge defender. Really, all duo is pretty simple, man. It's a nice change-up run play, but you're asking these interior linemen to get double teams on both the tackles and then work their way up to the linebackers. So for McFarland, who's in the backfield right here, his read starts at number 50. This is how this is going to work. So I'll kind of play this real slow. You can see Ant's vision is on number 50 right here. You got your double teams right here. Kendrick Green's coming off to get this weak side linebacker so he doesn't run through. And then these 2 guys are working up to 50. Once 50 kind of decides that he's going to fill this A gap, McFarland knows he's got to kind of start working outside. The part of this play that is really important for Washington is you're asking a tight end to block a defensive end head up. And this is not a matchup that particularly favors a lot of tight ends, especially coming out of college, because these guys are really more so glorified receivers than they are, technically refined run blockers. But you see Washington getting off the ball really quick here. Really, even though he does have a really bad kind of tendency to drop his head, I do like the pad level that he's playing with here, trying to get underneath this defender. At 6'7", it's really hard to play with good pad level and good leverage, but really love the hand usage. See he's got those hands high and in tight of the frame of the defender, and basically he's just going to ride this guy kind of inside. This makes it a really easy defined read for Ant to kind of jump this outside. And then, when you're in 11 personnel, this is a really light box, so you only have 6 defenders in here. A lot of teams, what they'll do is they'll kind of have a condensed set where they'll motion this receiver in tight to get the strong rotated safety. So you see a safety coming down to fill this gap. Oshetsky is going to come in and kind of block him. And what does this do? This creates a really nice defined read for McFarland, a one-on-one in space with a cornerback. You guys know what we say on the channel. We want to make cornerbacks tackle in the run game. Why? Because they're all bad at it. You see this guy whiff easily, and then McFarland is able to kind of use his kind of blazing speed to set the outside. But just kind of play this one more time. This play, has to be thrown completely out of the game plan if you don't have a tight end that can at least hold their own in the run game against these bigger defensive ends. And this is what McFarland can kind of do for you on offense. So, really good example right there. The very next play that we're going to show is another example of the Steelers running what I would classify as duo, but this time from more of a sidecar look instead of the pistol. So again, you kind of get the same kind of front here, 11 personnel. Going to get this over front to Washington's side. They're crowding the box a little bit more. You see this guy right here with the condensed set kind of coming in late. So you got your double teams. You see Broderick Jones working this double team here. Connor Hayward's actually in the backfield, which has been a fun little wrinkle to watch in the preseason. But again, this number 50 right here, he is literally reading this so quick to the A gap. And then you see Hayward's track is going to start working backwards. Again, Washington is going to be lined up, almost head up with this defensive end one-on-one. You see the full arm extension right here. He does get a little bit high, but it's a really good block to hold his own, not allowing that defensive end to reset the line of scrimmage. So really nice block right here. Unfortunately, kind of same thing we saw last time. They're asking Olszewski to come down and get this safety, this DB type right here. But you see he kind of whiffs. And what that does is instead of creating that one-on-one that we saw on the last play with the cornerback, who's actually working from depth. So Hayward was going to have a really nice gain on this play. Olszewski kind of drops his head a little bit and kind of whiffs. And this creates kind of a 2-on-1. And Hayward's just basically got to cut this back inside and try to get what he can out of the play. Really last thing that I wanted to highlight with Washington on this play is, again, the hand usage, pretty solid. He's got that right hand kind of inside, using the left hand to kind of control the defender. But watch the finish. Boom. Puts the dude on his back. It's just an excellent play, man. This type of physicality, the effort in the run game from Washington is awesome. Even if, he still is kind of working out some of the finer details, he's just so strong, plays a great effort to the whistle. Again, it's not every day. Like, if you guys watch some of these tight ends, especially coming out of college as rookies, try to block these defensive linemen and these outside linebackers, you don't see stuff like this in the preseason, man. There's usually a big learning curve for rookie tight ends. That's why they're technically really not allowed to make as much of an impact early on. But Washington, man, he's a ready-made run blocker. And it's really exciting of what he can potentially do for the Steelers offense. So how is Washington changing this group? So the Steelers were third in zone rushing rate, and then they were 31st in what's called like gap or power concepts. So the Steelers are really one-dimensional on the ground game. And to be fair, they were still really successful last year as a run team. But I think them being able to run duo and being able to run power and getting him in line, I think that's going to make them more multiple and make them even more explosive on the ground. And I think studying some of these other run games around the league, you see San Francisco, even, teams like the Rams, the Lions that are becoming more multiple on the ground. Because I think, some of these teams are kind of using lighter boxes or using lighter defensive linemen to kind of combat a lot of the zone rushing schemes that we've seen become so prevalent in recent years. But, using some of these power, getting double teams, getting that vertical displacement against some of these smaller guys is a really nice changeup. And I think the Steelers are going to have the capability to do that now with Washington, because they didn't have a guy in recent years that can go one-on-one, with those edge defenders. But, this play right here that I highlighted, this is really the Steelers' bread and butter from the past couple years. This is a zone run play to the strong side against the Falcons in the red zone. You see you got the jet motion here from Pickens. This is more of like a split zone. I think of this more so as mid zone instead of outside zone because of the aiming point of the running back. You got Freiermuth coming across to get the split. But again, just highlighting Washington here. Him and Okorafor both have awesome blocks. So you see him fire off the ball at that 45-degree angle, ducks his head a little bit, but the hand placement's good. And you see him just drive this man on line of scrimmage, just completely out of the play. So I want you to look at where he starts this rep. So right there, and then watch this horizontal displacement that Washington gets. He almost moves him completely out of the screen, all the way to the bottom of the numbers. Do want to show some love to Okorafor, who's not noted as a pretty plus run blocker. But again, watch this seal, just kind of using that left arm to kind of torque this defender outside. I mean, this is the running lane of running backs' dreams right here. I mean, you can't block that any better. You see Kendrick Green, the center, working up here to the double team. I will also say that this is really, really poor linebacker play right here from 45. This is really poor gap integrity. He's kind of peeking back inside here, even though 50 is already right there in that gap. But a really nice play there from Jaylen Warren. It's always a good thing when you can get, 7, 8 yards up the field before you even get touched. But I just really appreciate the contact balance here, lowering his head, boom, and then the balance to stay on his feet, man. It's a pretty phenomenal finish from what the Steelers' backup running back is, or as I like to call him, kind of a 1B. But just really appreciate the physicality there from Washington, man. You can put him on the front side of zone plays. You can put him on the front side of power plays. It's going to make the Steelers' running game pretty dangerous, man. So I know that a lot of people have been wondering like why they haven't been really featuring him as a pass catcher. I still think that there's been some flashes of him route running and just getting open, especially vertically. He just hasn't really gotten the football. But one of the things I wanted to highlight on this rep, the Steelers are going to be running. You're going to get a out, like kind of a clear out on the outside. You're going to get this kind of sail from Austin, and then a drive concept with Washington and Boykin. So Washington's going to be running kind of this deep dig with Boykin kind of running the underneath drag route. Mitch takes a shot because there's no safety on that side of the field, which I'm fine with. That's kind of what Steelers quarterbacks do. They like to throw the ball deep down the sideline. But I wanted to highlight this route from Washington. You guys can see it better from the angle, but I just like how he's going to hold his vertical stem, play through contact. You see 29, he's got both hands on him. But then the little subtle lean to create separation over the middle of the field is a really nice touch from him as a route runner. So kind of show you guys this. Play does draw a flag, so a first down for the Steelers. Mitch going to bring him in motion. Washington releases upfield. Again, Washington's so big that these smaller defensive backs, they're going to be holding on for dear life just to kind of have a chance. But I love this right here, that subtle lean. You see him lean towards the outside and put this foot in the ground. And then since he's already, basically getting grabbed, he's just going to kind of get this little subtle push off to create that separation at the break point. Washington obviously isn't, he's got a little bit of straight line speed, but some of his cuts can be a little bit labor when he's asked to kind of shift his weight. But using his size at the break point, he's going to be able to create this separation. I mean, this is wide open in the NFL. And I'm not saying that Mitch needs to necessarily throw him the ball here. I get wanting to take a shot. But this is wide open, and that's going to create a really friendly quarterback throwing lane for Trubisky over the middle of the field. So, again, if you guys stay to the end of the video, appreciate you all. I'm really excited about Washington's involvement with the Steelers. Don't worry too much about the pass catching numbers. I think there are some flashes. They'll look to get him a little bit more involved, but even if he catches, freaking 10 passes this year for this Pittsburgh offense, he's going to be an integral part of what they do. He's going to make them a lot better. So just don't get caught up in the box score watching or the fantasy stats or anything like that. But you guys know what to do. Make sure you like the video on the way out. Subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter. And make sure y'all check out all of my work on SteelersNow.com. Really excited. I'll check you guys next time. Peace.